a yes? Okay. All right, good afternoon, everybody. Today is Taste Life Nutrition Radio and Podcast streaming live on KUHSdenver.com. Where today we're going to talk about dogs. And we're supposed to have a guest to talk about canine massage. And I've not seen her. So super bummer because I was really excited about chatting with her. But maybe she'll still show. It would be great if she did. I think that would be awesome. But otherwise, we're just going to talk about dogs all by ourselves because that's one of my favorite topics to talk about anyway. So this is always a test for me to wing it. So here we go. But of course, as always, we start the show with gratitude, because gratitude, I fully believe, can change the world. Even when we are in a place that we are today, where there's a lot of scary stuff going on, there's a lot of really nasty negativity, people who are sick in the head. This whole Charlie Kirk thing has just gotten people going bonkers. When I talk about sick in the head, of course, I'm talking about the guy who did the shooting. But all of the things that are happening, that are surrounding this, are just, it's unimaginable that this is what we are dealing with right now. So I think that in a world where we have things like this that are happening, my sense of gratitude is the fact that so many people are coming together through this. So many people are standing up. People are standing up for Christ. People are standing up for Charlie and his family. People are showing their faith, and that this is bigger than Charlie. I believe that fully. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the opportunity to expand my brain, which is one of my very favorite things, is going to conferences where I am surrounded by people who love the same things I love when it comes to cutting edge health and wellness, and who are way smarter than I am. It's really super fun. So I get to learn, I get to collaborate, I get to chat with people, and it brings so much back with me that just helps me to be better in what I do, better in the people who I work with, and a better person all the way around. So these are some of, this is my favorite thing. I think I've been to, 3 conferences this year. Maybe it's 2 this year. Anyway, I would go every weekend maybe if I could. But point is, I'm super grateful for that, and the time that I get to spend with some really amazingly smart, like-minded people. So anyway, I think if Bianca comes on, then that's amazing, and we will chat. Otherwise, let's talk about dog food, right? And let me back that up, because I hate the term dog food. Dog food, in my mind, is toxic, tragic junk, right? And so we've got the Purina plant here in Denver, and you go down I-70, or if you spend any time, if you know the Denver area at all, there's the Rhino area, and sometimes even up. It just lingers, this cloud of nasty dog food smell over this area of the city. It drives me nuts, and I think probably drives me nuts mostly because I know how toxic and how terrible it is. But it is what it is. It's going to be there as long as we're buying trash food for our dogs. It's going to remain. And so my hope, as with anything else, as we become more and more educated on what health is, what healthy food is, what's important for us, what's important for our dogs, we stop buying the trash, because it's what it is. We have animals in our lives because they're there to be our family, right? We love on them, and they love on us, and they trust in us, and we want to do the best that we can for them. So my goal is to help to build knowledge around what is good, real food for dogs, and then if it ends up that, so say good real food is maybe too expensive. How can we build around these types of dry kibbles and make it types of dry kibble and make it manageable, less toxic? Are there supplements that we can do? Are there other foods that we can bring in to help to mitigate some of the carcinogenic impact of these types of foods? Because that's really truly what it is. I mean, they're carcinogens through and through. So if you were to think of it in human terms, right? And we say this a lot. I'm sure you've heard me say this if you've listened to this at all, especially talking about dogs. But if we were to eat McDonald's every day for our entire life, how long are we going to live? There's been a show, there was a documentary based around this entire concept, right? This guy decided that's what he was going to do, and he ate McDonald's. I don't remember how long it actually was that he ate it, but it was 3 times a day for maybe it was 30 days. It's been a long time since I've seen it. But he had labs done prior to starting, and he had labs done throughout, and he was consistently checked out by a doctor to test all of his important markers. I mean, they're all important, but and I think it was within a week that I shouldn't say this because I'm making stuff up, but it was very fast that his markers started going haywire, right? And at some point, the doctor's like, "You really got to stop this because this is killing you." This is what's happening to our dogs, right? Our bodies are all super resilient, and we can handle an amount of stress and strain and unhealthy food for a period of time until it's just going to start fighting back. And when I say fighting back, it's actually just fighting for its life, right? It's fighting for your life. You know, going back to what we talk about, on a regular basis with our own health, and how when we talk about the term dysfunction, I use that term because it's understandable. But do I fully believe that the body's dysfunctional? I'm not there yet, or I'm not there. I used to be there. I'm moving away from that because what I believe is the body is doing what it knows to do to keep us alive, because that's its ultimate goal, is to keep us alive. And so if we think our body is dysfunctional, if we have GI dysfunction or cardiovascular dysfunction, or you name the dysfunction, is it actually the body, or is it because it doesn't have what it needs in order to do its job? That would be what I believe to be the case, right? It's taking all that it has to do to keep you alive, and it's also then going to get your attention. It's going to start knocking on that door saying, "Hey, I need your help here because I don't I can't do it here on my own anymore." So whether it's I need more of these nutrients, or I need less stress, or I need somehow to deal with the trauma, right? There are all of these things. Dogs are dealing with the same thing. The body of the dog is just trying to do the same thing. It's trying to keep them alive. So when they leave us early, there's some kind of problem that the body wasn't able to handle. And so when we start to see symptoms in our dogs, if we were to just look at their food and change their food, I think my guess is 90% of the time it's going to be a game changer. That's what I've seen in practice when I'm working with animals, or when I'm working with dogs. Almost every dog I've seen that came to me with some kind of chronic issue, we have reversed strictly through diet. There was one that had significant cancer, and it was within a few days that dog passed. We did what we could, but it was just sometimes it just goes too far, and it was too late. And so, but that's the only one that I've had experience with so far. The other ones, there was one on his deathbed, like he was swollen and he couldn't walk, and it was all of these things. We changed his diet, and he became a new dog. This was probably 5 years ago, 6 years ago. I don't really know. The dog's still alive, right? And so this is an amazing thing that with dogs we can see such a massive transformation, because what we're doing is going from kibble that we'll dig into the whys behind it, but we're going from kibble that is super unhealthy, as unhealthy as it gets, right? There's no good kibble, at least as far as I've seen to date. I've never seen, whether it's organic, I don't care if it's $100 a pound, it doesn't matter to me. If it's kibble, it's deadly. So we take it from an unhealthy, deadly, toxic, oxidized, rancid food to real food, not human food, real food. I hate the term human food because it's food. We all just need food, and that's what it is. It's just food. So you take them to real food, and their world turns around, right? We might need to supplement them. That's what we had to do with the dog I was just talking about that was on his deathbed, that is still with us. We had to bring in some digestive enzymes and some probiotics. We had to bring in some organ meat and some things to feed the dog, to give it the nutrition that it needed in order to live. It's amazing, that concept of giving real live food for a dog to live, or a human to live, or a cat or a horse, right? We need to understand what it is that best helps them to thrive, and then do our best to give that to them. Yes, it can be more expensive. So there are some tricks that we can do, again, to kind of help mitigate some of the damaging effects of kibble. So one of the things that one of the people I follow on a regular basis is Dr. Karen Becker. She is a functional vet. Fell in love with her years ago when I found her. And so there's a documentary that she did. It's a really great documentary. I wasn't prepared to do this show by myself, so I don't remember the name of the documentary, but you can look for Dr. Karen Becker documentary and you'll find it. But it's worth watching, because it'll really open your eyes to the damaging effects of this type of toxic food. And so when we're talking about kibble, let's kind of get down into some basics a little bit. When we're talking about kibble, kibble is the dog food that's in a bag that comes out hard, and you stick it in a bowl and you let the dog eat. So there are some issues with this just in and of itself. Couple of things. As soon as you open that bag, that dog food starts to degrade and become rancid and oxidized, right? And we're buying these huge bags. Many of us are. I've done it, right? So I'm not telling you not to do anything that I've already done, right? So you buy these huge bags because they're less expensive, right? The more you buy, the less expensive it is. And then you have it opened, or maybe you squish the top of it closed, or maybe you stick it in a plastic, right? It's still open, it's still hitting air, it's still becoming, the fats and the oils are becoming oxidized and rancid. Huge problem. What happens though too is it's going through the processing. So it is the worst parts of the animal. I know that there are a lot of them out there now that are talking about human grade. Do I believe that? Probably not. And if it is, great. That's awesome. But the fact is, whatever grade it is, whether it's the worst of the worst, or if it's human grade food that's going through to be used as dog food, toxic dog food, what they're doing is they're heating it to such a high temperature that it's creating it's creating carcinogens. And my understanding is it's at least one for sure, if not maybe two. One's enough, right? How many carcinogens do we need to eat on a daily basis? Let's try to limit those as much as we can, because obviously it's hugely problematic. So it goes through this heating process. So then at the same time, it's degrading all the nutrients, right? So minerals don't go away. Minerals are like rocks, right? They're always around no matter what form they're in. We always have minerals. But the nutrients, the vitamins, go away. And so these manufacturers have to then add in nutrients. And so when we're looking at the ingredient label on dog food, you start to see all of these nutrients. You're like, hey, look at all of the important healthy, supplements that are in my dog's food. They're synthetic, right? They're going to be a form that's probably not beneficial for a dog. So let's take, for example, B12 is almost always cyanocobalamin, whether human form or animal form is cyanocobalamin. But the thing is, if it just says B12, you don't really know what form it is. But that's the important thing to know, is what form it is. So they do that because it's tricky, right? You don't know, so you're seeing B12. B12 gives energy. Yay, let's give my dog some B12. It's probably synthetic and problematic. Same with folic acid. There's vitamin E, and they never specify in dog food. I've never seen them specify in dog food. When you're looking at a human label, if you're looking at vitamin E, you'll look and you'll see either D tocopherol or you'll see DL tocopherol. That L is what helps us to know that it's synthetic. Now, we can see that in human ingredients, but we don't see it in animal ingredients, right? Just as vitamin E. So vitamin E often is used for, it helps to keep things from oxidizing, right? But if it's a synthetic form, it's damaging. And that was proven in human studies when they were looking at vitamin E for cardiovascular health. They were actually using the synthetic form, the DL, and it increased cardiovascular events, right? So the synthetic forms are not the same as the natural forms. And so that's another, these synthetic nutrients, synthetic amino acids that they're putting in these in these dog foods are also problematic. So we don't do well, our bodies don't do well with synthetic nutrients or synthetic anything, right? Synthetics are sometimes necessary. When I'm talking about that, sometimes drugs are necessary, right? For humans, for animals, there is a time and there is a place. And drugs are synthetic. I have, unfortunately, sadly enough, one of my dogs who's a rescue had a pretty tough life before coming to us. Now it's pretty cush. But we just found out that she's in heart failure. So we are supporting her and managing her situation the best that we can. And that includes drugs, right? And I have her on a ton of supplements, and she, of course, eats raw food, and that hasn't changed. But we are supporting her heart health the best that we can. But it happens. It happens in dogs. It happens in humans. That those valves just become, they just don't work as well as they used to, and it's a hard thing to deal with, and it's sad, and it's unfortunately it's all kind of it's a part of life. What are the things that we can do to mitigate that as we are moving through our years, from childhood and on? Sure, there are a lot of things, but when I look at, a dog like my little Daisy, she had heartworm when we got her. She had terrible teeth when we got her. Who knows how old she was when we got her? I don't know. She was shot in the face. And so we can't tell how old she was. So we think she's pretty old. She's 12 to 15 years old. But, she's had a life that probably went and promoted the dysfunction of these valves in her heart. And there's the word dysfunction again, but it's true, with this life that she had. And here we are, just trying to manage and keep her as happy for as long as we can. So anyway, drugs certainly have a place, and I'm not opposed to them. But I think that they're often overused, but it goes back to being synthetic, that we go and we give our animals and ourselves synthetic nutrients, and we don't do well with those. It's just keep that in mind when you're looking for yourself and for your dogs. Know what's synthetic and know what's not. You want the real forms. Okay, going back to the food. So a couple of other things regarding the kibble in and of itself. Because it's dry, so think about the food that we eat. Think about the food that the dogs are supposed to eat. Just think about food, right? There's water in almost everything. Some form of water. In its natural state, there's some form of water. In kibble, there's not. It is totally dried up. So what does that do? Dog eats it. Dog becomes perpetually dehydrated. Um, this is obviously a huge problem, being perpetually dehydrated. So it's soaking up everything that's in the GI and everything that's moving through. And the dog obviously should have full access to water. But what we want to do, if kibble is our only option, is soften it. Soften it with water so the dog is getting water with the kibble. Another thing that, we talk, marketing is amazing. Marketing works so well, and I don't know. It's this, it's this love-hate relationship with marketing. I have to market, right? We all have to market in business. But when the marketing, it it often can just tell us these lies that is just it's just a real problem. I'm trying to be careful about the way that I say this. I don't know why it matters. But when it comes off to just full on lies and myths around certain things that we then perceive as truth, that's a problem. So one of those things is that hard food is important for our dog's teeth. So yes, if you give them a bone, if they go and chew on a stick, that's really hard, and it massages their gums. It's good for their teeth. It's good for their jaw muscles. All of those things are good. Kibble is not that. Kibble is not going to clean their teeth. If anything, it's going to make it way, way worse. So let's talk about teeth for a minute, right? So they have an oral microbiome just as we have an oral microbiome. So we want to support that oral microbiome. Going back to my little Daisy, in her teeth, the thing is, when you bring a dog in, you don't know anything about its history. You don't know how the dog acts except for what you have. And she was always super calm. She was always just kind of laying around and super mellow, and didn't really, and we just always said she didn't really know how to be a dog. So we didn't know anything about her. What we knew is when she was picked up or when she was rescued, she would hide under a desk, and she was super afraid of feet. So super sad. Don't know what that's about, but that's what it was. She comes to us. She has horrible breath, but she also has heartworm. So we can't clean her teeth when she has heartworm. So we go through an extended process of dealing and killing off the heartworm, but we did it so we didn't have to do high dose. I think it's like this sort of arsenic derivative for killing off heartworm. Instead, we did it with lower dosing ivermectin as well as supportive nutrients and some antimicrobials, right? So that's how we did it, and it took us some time to do it. When we finally got rid of the heartworm, we were then able to check out her mouth, and it was terrible. It was terrible. We had to remove so many teeth. She had lots of infection and all kinds of stuff going on, right? So what is that doing to her systemically? It's creating a huge problem for her. So just like with us, right? You have infection in the mouth, goes through the tubules, that are in the gum and in the jawline and into the capillaries and then throughout the system. This is why root canals are so problematic. They're always infected, and so we don't feel it because it's a root canal. So we want to keep our mouths clean. We want to keep our dogs' mouths clean, and so there are things that we can do. Yes, good healthy food. Yes, giving them a good marrow bone. My dogs get a good marrow bone at least once a week, and so they're chewing. They're getting the marrow. It's super nutrient dense. It's super fatty. They love it. You never want it cooked. Never give cooked bones ever. But these marrow bones, of course, they're really big and they're thick, and they just love them to death. And so really good for them. So another thing that I do, and I brought this because I think that this is so cool, and I've been doing this to my dog, giving this to my dogs now for years, is this teeth product, right? So this is a prebiotic that you put in their water. They also now have it that you can sprinkle on their food, but it's a prebiotic that is called Protectin. It's this Protectin technology. So you can read what's behind me if you can't read it. It safely improves the oral microbiome, right? So it's a prebiotic that builds the oral microbiome in dogs. They also make this for humans. So it naturally reduces plaque and tartar. It grows beneficial bacteria essential for dental health, stops growth of gum disease, causing bacteria, including under the gum line, right? Stops bacteria from secreting smelly byproducts that cause bad breath, right? We always wonder why dogs have bad breath. This is not normal. It's not natural, right? Is it coming from the gums? Is it coming from the GI? Is it coming from the fact that we're feeding unhealthy food, right? And so I have one of my girls, my bigger girl. Her teeth, she's probably, I think she's 9. We don't really know for sure, but I think she's 9-ish. Her teeth are still beautiful. They're really beautiful. I don't, you look at dogs' teeth so you can see their age, and they yellow a little bit. I still don't see that on her, which is really awesome. I think we got her when she was somewhere around a year, and so she's got really really great teeth. And poor little Daisy, she just has only a few teeth left, but we had to take a bunch of them out when we cleaned her teeth. Anyway, but she does well, and she's got this cute little smile, a little snaggletooth smile. But a product like this, this teeth, is a really great product that I love, and I often and I need to order some more actually. But it's you put it in their water every day. You just put a scoop in their water. It's just a small amount. It's super reasonably priced, and I love it. The dogs look great. I think that this has been. I wish that I had known about this when Daisy, before we got her teeth cleaned, right? Oh, and another thing on that, what's super interesting too is we didn't know how much pain she was in. She was in a ton of pain. Once we cleaned her teeth, and now are continue cleaning their teeth with this Protectin technology from teeth, she every day learns a little bit better to be a dog, right? She'll play a little bit, she'll bounce around a little bit. She's still super mellow, and even now with this new diagnosis that she has, she loves to kind of get up and play, and she's just really sweet and a lot of fun. So it's amazing when you don't know that a dog is in pain, and the change that it makes. And it makes me feel horrible too, because it was at least a year that we had her on this heartworm treatment where she had this infection going on in her mouth. And then prior to that point, how long was she in pain? I don't know. It just hurts my heart. But she's good now. It's been a lot of years that she's been good and happy and healthy, and we're just going to keep her going as long as we can. But this is a great product to help that, because again, going back to the oral microbiome is systemic, and will go systemic. And so you want good, healthy microbes that keep them safe, keeps their heart as healthy as possible, as well as everything else. So check it out. You can text TEEF to the 720-864-1699, and we'll send you the link, or you can go to the QR code. I hope I attached it. Yes, I did. And you can grab your teeth there for your dogs. It's really cool stuff. They have been, I wish I put it up here, but they were like, top innovative pet product or something like that, right? So they've got a lot of data behind this technology. So it's not just a sort of a whim, kind of thing. This is the real deal. So it's good stuff. Okay, so let's dig into a little more of the good stuff. So let's talk about real food, human food for dogs, which is what they should get. Real food is super important. So real food is going to have all of the water in it, all of the natural water in it, right? And so what we want to be careful of too is there is good, real, raw, healthy food that's been dehydrated. So this is great. You just got to make sure you're hydrating it, right? So you can't just, it's going to be along the same lines. It's better. So dehydrated is fine. There's no heat to it, or it's very little heat. It's still a great form. You've got to add water to it. If you go to canned food is highly, highly processed. Not a fan of canned food at all. Is it better than kibble? I think it has the potential of being better than kibble, mostly because it's got water still in it. So at least they're getting the liquid that goes along with it, but it's still highly processed, highly heated, synthetic nutrients, all of those things. But probably a step in the right direction when it comes to, when it comes to kibble. So the things that we need to make sure that we understand for feeding real food. And there are times when we need to supplement because we our homes are not the environment that dogs are created to eat from. And so I say that if you look at what a wild dog or a wolf or a coyote is going to do, or any type of prey animal, it's going to take an animal down. It's going to go for the gut, right? It's going to go for the organs, then it's going to go for the meat, and then it's going to go for the bone. So it's going to go for all of that. Now, the reason it goes for the GI, which is interesting, this is super interesting to me. So dogs don't naturally make a lot of their own digestive enzymes. They also don't make their own probiotics, right? For the most part. And so when you go after the GI and they're taking in their kills GI, the contents in there, they're getting digestive enzymes and they're getting probiotics, right? So they get that from the animal that they kill. And so then they're going to go after the organ meats. The organ meats are much more nutrient dense than the muscle meat. So we should listen to that in and of ourselves. We need to eat organ meat as well. Super nutrient dense. It's really, really healthy. So for a dog, the liver from a cow is the best liver they can eat, right? You can give them chicken liver, you can give them other livers, it's fine. But the liver from a cow has the correct copper content to support a dog. So what I do is I get dried, dehydrated liver treats that are from cows. So I'll get them, chicken livers again, and all of these things. I try to mix it up as often as I can, but I make sure that they have access. These are their treats that I'm giving, throughout the day or whenever we're giving them to them. They're getting little treats that are dehydrated cow liver, so they're getting that copper content that they need, right? It's not always easy for us to just go out and buy a bunch of liver, right? It also can add up. So if you buy it dehydrated, make sure it's not irradiated, make sure it's not out of China, make sure it's grown in the United States. But if you can't do regular, liver, then get these liver treats. It's a really great option for getting them the liver that they need. So, but when it comes to other organ meats, brain, tongue, kidneys, testicles, ovaries, intestines, all of those things. Now, getting to the intestines, right? It's tripe, super nutrient dense. Really good for them, but never ever go to the store and buy tripe that is in that's white tripe in a package. It has been bleached and is full of junk, right? So it's easy to find. It's a lot easier to find than green tripe. Green tripe is actually straight from the cow, still has the grass in it, smells terrible. It is awful, but the dogs love it. And so if you have access to it, what I do is I'll just chop it up into large chunks and I'll pull out and you want to keep it like in the outside freezer or whatever you want to do, because it's nasty stuff, but they will eat it down and it's great for them. So think about that. Just don't get white tripe. Really bad news. And then so whatever you can do to support them in those types of foods that they need on a regular basis. So then, of course, you've got the muscle meat. Muscle meat, the best way to do it, if you have the ability to do it, is to mix it up. So you give them pork, you give them chicken, you give them beef, you give them game animals, right? You want to give them the best you can and mix it up the best you can. Another thing is bone. People are so afraid of bones, and I get it, because if you feed a dog a cooked chicken bone, it will splinter and it will cause huge problems. Now, the dogs that I had prior to this point, I have a friend of mine who's a vet. She hates it when I talk about this. But so you have to be very careful and very aware. I'm going to say this again, be very careful and very aware of your dog and what your dog is going to eat and how it eats. If it wolfs food down, you've got to be super careful with bones. But certain dogs, if you know your dog well enough, will take a chicken leg or take a thigh and will crunch it and eat it slowly like a normal dog is supposed to do. But if you have a dog who's never had it before and you go and you throw them a chicken leg and they wolf it down, that can be a huge problem. So what we want to keep in mind is they've got to have bone. Bone is ideal. If you're not comfortable with bone, that's okay. You can do eggshells. Eggshells are great too. So you just and the lining, that lining is full of hyaluronic acid, so it's really great for their joints. And so we'll dig more into that in a minute. But what I used to do for my boys was I would give them chicken legs, and they would take it and they would eat it very normally and naturally and slowly, and crunch, crunch, and it was gone. These girls, I don't do that. So what I do is I have a big butcher knife and I just cut it into chunks, right? Smaller chunks or bigger chunks depending on the dog, but I cut it into chunks. So they're still getting the bone. The muscle meat is wrapped around the bone. So that is how they are protected from the bone, is that muscle meat's wrapped around. So just going and giving them a clean chicken bone is not a good idea. You still want to protect them. So that's what I'll do, is I take a butcher knife, I chop it into huge chunks, and that's how they get their chicken bone, or their bone. If I'm feeding them beef, you don't give beef bones unless they're big marrow bones, right? You don't give them rib bones. These things they're not good for them. I think they have the potential of being problematic. Not everybody may agree with that, and that's okay. I think we still want to be careful and sort of lean on the side of being kind of conservative with some of this stuff, especially for dogs who tend to wolf things down. But if I'm feeding beef and there's no bone in it, then that's when I'll give eggshell. And I'll tell you what I do almost all the time for the dogs is, if I'm cooking eggs for us or if I'm giving the eggs to the dogs, if they're already getting chicken bone and I don't need to feed them the eggshell, I will peel. This maybe is crazy to some people, that's okay, but I'll peel the membrane out and I'll feed them the membrane, and then I'll take the eggshell and that'll go in my garden. So not everybody wants to do that, but I think it's a cool thing because that membrane can be really beneficial for them. It can be beneficial for us too, right? I mean, it comes in supplement form. Why do we want to go buy a supplement for something that we have, it's accessible to us pretty much at all times if we eat eggs? So in my mind, it's super smart, and I'll take those membranes when I think about it. I think about it more for the dogs. But if I'm going to make a smoothie or if I'm going to make something, you can take those membranes, you can stick them in a smoothie too. So that can help us. Eating eggshells for us can be helpful too. It's not always easy to eat, but it's a great way of getting good mineral content for us and, of course, for our animals. Let's see. So we talked bones, organ, meat. Those are the most important things. Now we can move into like veggies and non-meat products. Not everybody agrees that they need that, but I do feed my dogs a little bit of fruit and veggie, and it depends on the day and what they get. Most of the time, because it's easy on my husband, I get like a big thing of sauerkraut. I need to just make it. I'm getting better about my own fermenting, but I need to just make it. But simple. It's a vegetable, plus it's fermented, so they're getting sauerkraut. If you're going to do something like that, and if it's going to be store-bought, you have to look at the ingredients. You got to make sure that it's only cabbage and salt and water. If it's vinegar-based, then it's not fermented. It's vinegar. It's like pickles, right? So you want it to be a live food. But if you're looking at like other types of fermented foods for your dogs, which is great, this is great for them. You've got to look at the, all of the ingredients. The onions can be toxic. That's the main thing. Onions can be toxic. So you want to keep that away from them, as far as things that are fermented. But mostly for me, we do the sauerkraut. But when I'm doing it myself, then I'll go in and whatever I have in the vegetable drawer, or if I have some fruit that needs to be used up, or if I have stuff, berries in the freezer, which I usually do, then I tend to mix it up. So I've got my food processor, and so I might mix cabbage, it might be Brussels sprouts, it might be broccoli, it might be some carrots, it might be beets, right? It might be zucchini or squash or cooked sweet potato. I'm always just looking in the fridge at what I have that I can then give to them. Celery, right? You name it. Things you don't want to do. Again, going back to onions, no grapes, no raisins, no chocolate. Um, Garlic is fine. Not everybody agrees with that, but garlic is fine. What else am I missing? I think hazelnuts. No hazelnuts. Other nuts are okay. Are they great for them? They're not going to go out and eat nuts on their own, as far as I know. But I'll give a couple of pecans or whatever to the ones that'll eat it, periodically when I'm eating them. Just as treats. But it's not a typical thing for me, and I don't put it in their food usually. Anyway, so in my food processor goes maybe my eggs, my eggshells, maybe the egg membrane, maybe not, just depends. The vegetables, a little berry. So I tend to have strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, strawberries in my freezer. So I might put a few of those in the food processor, and I'll put in bone broth. I try to have bone broth on hand at all times. During the winter, I'm always making it, so I tend to fill up my freezer with some bone broth for the summer. And then, once I run out, here we are coming up on fall again. Bone broth season's about to come up. So I'm always trying to give them as much bone broth as I can. And so I'll take it all and I'll mix it all, and I will add in garlic. I'll add in ginger, good for their joints. I'll add in, so we'll talk about that in a minute no, let's talk about it now. So kelp. Kelp is really important for thyroid health, right? They need the iodine. We've got a lot of dogs struggling with thyroid issues because they're not getting good iodine in their diets. So this is one where you don't have to buy something in a pill. You can just get bulk kelp and feed it to your dog. So I will put that on their foods. I won't mix it in because each dog needs a different amount of stuff because they're all different sizes. So I'll put the kelp on after I put everything on their plates. But they do get kelp for iodine health. So really, really important to think about that. So then I'll mix everything up. What you can do is if you prefer is you can mix it up in bulk, and then you can put it in dishes and then pull it out of the freezer. So that way you don't have to worry about having to do it all the time. I tend to kind of do things on the fly, just the way that I work. It's the way I cook. It's how I do. I'm not a big prepper, but a lot of people are. I work with a lot of people who are big preppers, and so that's great if that's what helps you to keep yourselves healthy and keep your dogs healthy. So depending on the dog, so it's no more than 20% veg and fruit. I'm as far as they're concerned. I've gotten to the point where I don't necessarily measure, but I know I measure their meat, how much each dog gets, and then I'll add my fruit and veggie in with that, so it equals how much they're supposed to get. I believe, so 80% meat, so muscle meat, red, white, whatever, including bone, organ, and meats. And then the rest of it, you can have some fruits, vegetables, all of those things are good for, antioxidants. And that kind of takes me back to kibble. If you're not comfortable getting rid of kibble yet, or you don't have the budget, or whatever the case may be, give them good supplements that are going to help feed their body, because the kibble's not going to do it, and give them fruits and vegetables so that the antioxidant capacity can help to squash that inflammatory effect of the kibble. It's not going to take it away, right? We still, if you can bring in some meat, if you can give a little bit of ground beef, whatever you can do to get them some real food, and then give them the fruits and vegetables on top of that, so you can put out that fire a little bit. That's ideal. So then when it comes to supplements, we talked a little bit about the kelp. Again, just buy it in bulk. It's not very expensive. Buy it in bulk, and then you'll have it for forever, it seems like. Other things to add on. So we talked about probiotics. They get their probiotics from their kill. We need to supplement their probiotics. I started making probiotic yogurt for my dogs about a month ago. It's been really fun. Saves me a ton of money on probiotics. So it is their probiotic. It's specific to dogs. I make yogurt with it, and so it's a much larger amount of the actual microbes. I know that they're alive, and it saves a ton of money because you're using one capsule. And then you can inoculate each batch after that with the one that you just made. I've not done that. I tend to just use another capsule because I have it. But it's a really cool thing that you can do for yourselves. I do it for us, and I do then specifically for the dogs. So different probiotics for each of us. Make the yogurt, and it's super delicious, and the dogs love it. So A2 milk or goat milk. So not regular everyday Holstein cow milk. If you don't know what A2 milk is, I just recently did a show on the gut, and I talked about this. So look that up. But A2 milk or goat milk, which is naturally A2 as well, that's going to be ideal for us. If you are a milk drinker, the processing of it, the yogurt helps to reduce a lot of the components that make it sensitive to it, and then it's super therapeutic due to the trillions of bacteria that are in there. Okay. Other things, digestive enzymes. Dogs need digestive enzymes. That was one of the things that we brought in for the dog I was telling you about that was on his deathbed that's still around. Digestive enzymes are key. They don't break down their food very well because they're expected, they're supposed to get it from their kill. So you got to bring in digestive enzymes. I don't do a meal without it, and I've noticed their fartiness went way down. If I don't do it, they tend to get farty, and so which is never fun. It's awful. So another thing that I do is I bring in the other types of organ meats, right? So with glandulars. And so this is a supplement. It's in supplement form. I used to be able to get it as just a powder, which was so great, but they discontinued it, unfortunately. So it's in capsule form, probably because it just doesn't taste good. The dogs love it, but I think it tastes terrible. I will take it in capsule form, but I take it out of the capsule for them because they like the way it tastes. Anyway, kind of a pain, not a big deal. You can just put the capsules on top of the food as well. But those organ meats, they're going to get their B vitamins and other nutrients through those. And so that's, again, super important for them. And then that's their supplement. And then their liver, which this is going to have liver in it as well, but their liver is the treat. So those organ meats are key. It's all of the organs mixed up. It's adrenals, the glandulars are really important to help to support them and support their gut health and digestion and that kind of thing. So let's see what they're talking about here. I did just a quick search before the show since I knew I was going to be doing this on my own. We're almost out of time anyway. But let's see, I'm just going to read so going back to Dr. Karen Becker, I just did a quick search on her stuff if there is anything, in case I needed something more to talk about. But what it says here, which we already talked about, don't cook bone or feed whole cooked bony meats. Wings, backs, necks are, when cooked, are not good. Cooking makes them brittle and dangerous, and they splinter. So we talked about that already. So really important to keep that in mind. Raw meaty bones are useful, but not just nutritionally, but also for dental health. Chewing removes plaque, stimulates gums, right? So we talked about that. But know your dog and how you can feed your dog. Some dogs are used to eating bones. Otherwise, break it up. Again, just get a big butcher knife and break it up. It's super simple, and the dog is getting what they need. Back to, I had said a few minutes ago that eggshell you can use as well, but the mineral content is different than bones. So the ideal mineral content is going to come from bones, whereas the eggshells are great. It's just not ideal, right? So you can do it. You can supplement with it. It's better than nothing. The other thing to think about is you can get bone meal powder. A lot of people will do this for themselves as well because it's a natural form of minerals. So is salt, though, right? You get good minerals and trace minerals from salt. But what we have to be really careful of, a lot of times these bone meal powders, they're bleached, they go through a horrible toxic chemical process, right? So that's not stuff that you want to take. It's not stuff that you want to give your dogs. And quite honestly, I don't know how to know, because I've not seen anyone who promotes the fact that they don't do this whole bleaching nasty process to the bones. I don't know any that is good and healthy and okay, because we don't want that kind of chemical on any of the supplements or any of the foods that we're eating. So just keep that in mind, because it has the potential of being a really great idea if you can find one that's a good one. Another thing that's really cool too, your butcher might have bone powder. So when they're cutting the meat at the butcher, right, they're going through the bones with these saws, and the bone powder falls to the ground. Well, they can sweep that up and they can keep it and use it. How cool is that? I did that a little bit in the past. My butcher closed down, unfortunately, and so I can't get it anymore. But that's a really cool thing to do if your butcher will do it for you, is just get the bone powder. I mean, we want to use all parts the best that we can, right? All parts of the animals. It's a really big deal. Other things that you can look at, chicken feet. Sounds crazy, but I'll buy chicken feet for treats for the dogs. I'll also buy chicken feet to use in my bone broth. High in collagen, really soft bones. It's great for them, and they love it. So that's a great option as well. So let me see if there's anything else here that I want to hit on. I think the biggest thing is, as if you decide you want to transition from feeding raw to from feeding kibble to feeding raw, I think it's a great thing to do. Some people are afraid if their dog has cancer. Some people are afraid if their dog's older. Some people are just afraid because, oh, my dog has a sensitive belly. I think that's fine. Do it slow if that's something that you want to do. I've never done it slow, but I don't have dogs with sensitive bellies. At least I haven't to date. So if you know your dog and it's a little bit sensitive, then yeah, just do a slow transition. Put bone broth on your kibble, give them fruits and vegetables. All of those things are going to be really beneficial to help transition them through, and then slowly add in meat. And if you just add it in and you keep it that way, where you're mixing it with the kibble, then it's better than nothing, right? So I think it's a great way of helping to give them what they need. That's beyond just giving them the kibble. Let's see other things that maybe they say here. So pathogens, yeah, this is actually a really cool thing to chat about, because a lot of people, even vets, I've heard this multiple times from vets. They're afraid of salmonella. They're afraid of these bacteria and these pathogens and the dogs getting them. And if they have a compromised immune system, is it a problem? Potentially. My thought is, this is me, and this is from my research and what I fully believe to be the truth, is that if you're feeding your dog the food it's supposed to eat, then you're building up its immune system anyway. But their GI is much shorter than ours, so the food doesn't stay in their GI for very long, and it's much more acidic, like super duper acidic, like sitting at a 1 or lower or something, right? So it's really, really acidic, which is intentional. This is why dogs are fine with eating things off the ground. This is why they just they're scavengers. It's what they do. This is very intentional by the creator, right? This is how they've been created. So the acidity breaks down the nasty foods. The acidity breaks down any of the pathogens that might be getting through. So I'm just one who, I think it's better to feed them the food that they're intended to eat, as opposed to what they're not. You're not going to see a dog go and cook its chicken, right? You're not going to see a dog go and cook its cow. So they know what they're supposed to eat. And I will tell you that I've heard this, and I've seen it with my own dog. If they're not used to it, they might at first kind of stick their nose up to it. It's okay. They'll get used to it. When we brought my big one home the first night, we gave her kibble mixed with some chicken or something, and she took it, she picked it up, and she put it on the ground, and she ate her kibble, because that's what she knew. It's fine. She doesn't do that anymore. It didn't take her long to transition because I just transitioned her. It's just what I did, and she's great. So I don't really worry about pathogens as long as if I would eat it, then I'm not going to worry about it for them. Okay. Something that I need to do that I did not do is I need to talk about our sponsor because I have been terrible about this. But Susan Drake with Mountain Medical Concepts is super cool lady. She's got some really cool stuff. Now this is going for human health and not so much dog health. Although I do bet peptides come in for dog health. All of these things really probably should come in for dog health as well, or animal health. But Susan has some really cool products that are for practitioners. So if you're a practitioner and you're looking to expand your practice with some really cool, amazing, cutting edge therapeutics, you've got your peptides, your exosomes, the stem cells, some new food sensitivity testing, IV therapy, specialty lab testing, all of these things. She's got it. She's got some really cool products. She's a lot of fun. She's great with supporting the practitioner. So if you're not a practitioner but you're looking for some of these things, ask your practitioner for them. Start bringing these in. This is the future, right? This is really cool regenerative medicine, and peptides are some of my favorite new things. I've been nerding out on those a ton. So Susan's great. Mountain Medical Concepts. Reach out to her. You can, the QR code will take you straight to her website, and check her out. Lastly, I want to make sure that we talk about this too. This comes from what I am doing now. So this is me. This is not about dogs, but this is something that I've been having a lot of fun with. It was a total accident, but people are really digging it, which is cool because I really dig it. So this is what we have termed your Precision Wellness Blueprint. This is a lot of fun because this is taking, it's kind of the way I worked with people in the first place, right? It's taking your data, it's taking an intake, it's taking all that you are, it's taking your labs, and putting it all together. But it's kind of also taking it to a much deeper level, because in order to start getting to that deeper level, we also then we're putting in genetics, we're putting in the technology. If it's something that you want to do, none of this is, you don't have to do any of this, right? But this is putting in, your continuous glucose monitor readings and reports, is putting in the lumen reports. We can talk more about that stuff later if you're interested in it. But what you can do is you can text Blueprint to this number and we'll send you a link to check it out. You can also, of course, scan the QR code. What I'm doing right now is I'm doing a $47 45-minute session. This is usually a $150 session, right? And so we're doing this, and we're taking a piece of this and we're putting it into putting all these data points in together. So you would fill out an intake, a very specific intake, not like my regular everyday intake, which is really long, but this one is really specific to what we're looking to do here. It's really to optimize metabolism, optimize health, understand your body at a much deeper level. It's not necessarily about dealing with these excessively chronic conditions, because those take time, right? This is something where you learn deeper insights about your health, about your body, how your body's talking to you, what it needs as far as nutrition goes, as far as exercise, as far as how you eat food, what you pair food with, if you should fast, if you should not fast, if you should carb cycle. I mean, the whole thing has really been super cool, and I create these reports that are really these beautiful reports that you can take with you. If you decide you want to go deeper into it, that's when we can start adding in genetics and labs and all of these other things. But we're starting out with just this $47 session to give you kind of an idea of what it can do and what we can do to help you move forward with whatever your goals are. So check that out. It's been a lot of fun. I'm having a great time with it, and a lot because I'm learning more about me, and I'm learning more about me on a daily basis as I dig deeper and deeper into this stuff, and then can help my clients and patients do the same thing. So It's been super cool. I know there's, for those of you who are on Facebook, my head's covering it up, but um, check it out. We'll also post these as well, so you can take them and share them or whatever you want to do. Would love to chat with you about it. So, of course, you can find me at tastelifenutrition.com and fill out the free assessment on there. You'll also find all of this information. Would love to chat with you about your Precision Wellness Blueprint, because it's super cool stuff. We will see you here coming up, streaming live, of course, on KUHSdenver.com, where you find some of the coolest programs, some of the best music, having a really good time. So we'll see you next week. I'm sorry that we weren't able to talk about canine massage, but maybe we'll get to do that at some point next year. We're pretty well booked throughout the year, throughout probably the beginning of next year. So maybe we can get Bianca back on, because I know she had some really cool things to talk about. I hope that she is safe and everybody's okay, because I know she posted this earlier. So anyway, well, I don't know what happened, but that's okay. It happens, and we got to talk about dogs anyway. So everybody, hug your family, kiss your family. God bless you all, and we'll see you next week.